Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the homestead. I'm going to do a video on what to do to get ready for winter, specifically though to do with the garden, what to do with the garden beds and the greenhouses and stuff like that, and generally around. I've done lots of videos on preparing for yourself and your clothing and your house and that kind of stuff. I've never done one actually on gardening, as a friend pointed out to me, so I thought I would do that. We're right in the middle of now winter pack down, so everything's kind of half done, and I can show you what we're doing and explain a bit why we're doing it and the sort of things that you should be doing and what you should be doing to get ready for winter, whether you're in a very cold climate like we are or a slightly warmer climate like over in the UK, for example. A lot of these things still apply. So let's get started. Okay, so first of all, if you've not seen this before, we've got two greenhouses here. I'll go walk into the one, the Pasta Solar one. What we're doing in here is, in both greenhouses, we'll be clearing out the tomato plants and the peppers and getting it ready, really starting to get ready for winter and for spring next year. So with regard to clearing out anything really, but tomatoes as well, the key thing to do is try to leave the roots in the ground rather than yanking the whole plant out. You'll see, for example, here, just chopped it off above the top. In fact, all these are chopped off at the top or near the top. Sometimes I cut into the actual soil itself. There's one there, etc., etc. And that means that what that does is it gives something for the soil and the organisms in the soil. As it rots down, it becomes food for them and ultimately food for whatever you plant next time. So better to leave the roots and all those kind of things in the ground. You can see all these, all I've done is cut off with a knife. They're not actually in the ground anymore. So that's that. With peppers, what you can do, you can see in this greenhouse things are still alive, which is unusual for this time of year. I mean, with the tomato plants, you want to start getting them out now, because what will happen is as the air movement stops, mold will set in, and then you still have to clear the plants out, but you'll end up with lots of mold spores about, which is not particularly healthy for you. So we'll clear them out now. With pepper plants, you may not know that you can actually overwinter them. So what you need to do is strip it right down almost to the base, to the first, where the plant splits. Cut it off there, cut the leaves off. The leaves are no use in winter for the plants, and they'll go dormant over winter. I'm going to try with a couple and then put them down in the basement and then bring them up next year, and they will come back to life, hopefully. With this kind of greenhouse, where the temperatures don't go down quite as low, I mean, this is a 3-season greenhouse, it's not 4-season, but you might want to bring some plants which are a bit more tender outside, maybe some new trees, and bring them indoors, trees that are still in pots, bring them indoors here, just to give them some level of protection until they become more established the next year and they can survive outside. I think that's about it for this greenhouse. Let's go and have a quick look at the other one. The other thing is, this is not that you have to do, but this, you're probably thinking, why is he planting stuff now? This is lamb's leaf lettuce. It will survive the winter here. It has survived the winter outdoors, and I'll plant this out here. It's an incredibly sweet leaf. That's how it can survive such low temperatures, but it will survive throughout the winter. It won't grow much because of the light, but if you want a few leaves for sweetness over the winter, plant a load of that. It will go to seed next year and give you loads of seed. So lamb's leaf or corn salad. Quick look in the polycarbonate. Similar story though, but you can see I've started to take the plants out now already. Just this side to do, because what we do in here is we leave the chickens in here over winter. We'll take them from their run over there and then bring them into here. They will poop all around. We'll move their roosting bars around so they poop in places. Every week we sort of move it around so that all the beds will be lovely fertilized with their poop. Then we'll dig that in. We don't worry too much about the roots and stuff in here because we've got to dig the poop in anyway. Nevertheless, I have done, and it gives something for them to scratch around at, and there may be some goodies for them in the ground. it's one thing to consider if you've got dahlias, dahlias here, as it's pronounced here. You will need to take those out and store them. Initially they're stored in here to sort of dry out a bit, and then we'll put them in the basement, put them in some sand or some sawdust, something like that, and they will survive the winter. Sometimes we've actually brought them indoors. You might want to give a coat of compost now. I mean, we wouldn't in here because the chickens are going to come in here, but in the other greenhouse you might do. Put some organic matter down now so it can work through the winter. I'll go into more detail about that when we look at the outdoor garden beds. Obviously, empty any water outside that's contained. This is more, I kind of don't know what you call it really. We call it labs, experimental garden, permaculture garden, whatever. What we try to do here is cover as much of the soil as possible. This is literally halfway. I've left things halfway to try and demonstrate. This was if you don't know, this was a new garden last year, all this part here. There is our wild flowers, so they've self-seeded. Obviously we won't disturb that in any way. Here's, we've just given it a rake, pulled out, there was pumpkins and whatever here. Where there's stuff, sweet corn here, we left the roots in the ground for them to decompose. Remember to pick up any labels. There was some outdoor tomatoes here as there was here. Again, cut them down. We will cover all this like we have done here, or started to do here, with the hay and leaves. This is actually a garlic bed now. I've planted garlic in here, so that's put to bed for winter now. Just side step over. And then all this area, this has already got some hay in from earlier on. We will then, as I've done here, start to cover the whole area with hay or straw, whatever you've got, and suppress the weeds, but give it something to sort of rot down over winter, and then we can plant in next year, most likely potatoes, and there'll be lots of organic matter there for them to grow in. We had some leftover plastic, so we've used that over there, but it's only, I've not bought it especially, it's just because we had it left over, and it's just a way to sort of suppress weeds and make garden beds. Because if you don't know, this garden used to go this way here, and now it's going to go that way to capture the rainwater as it goes downhill. So try to protect soil for winter, especially the harsh winter here. That's a good thing to do, using leaves or hay or straw, whatever you've got really, any sort of organic matter, or chop down the weeds and leave them in place, or wood chips if you've got those. I think that's about it for around here. Yeah, let's go around to the main garden. Before we get to the main garden, we've got bushes and fruit trees to consider. There is a Victoria plum which is now established. That's no problem over winter. But with the small trees and the bushes, except blackcurrants, we need to consider about deer that might come in and want to nibble. So we need to give some protection to these, either with wire cages, which you can see over there. We put them around to protect them without fencing the whole area. Stop them nibbling the lower parts anyway. Or what you can do is get some Christmas tree cuttings and tie them around. Deers don't really like spiky things, so Christmas trees, pine, I think miscanthus as well, grass which has got spiky bits on it, anything like that to protect them from them being nibbled down by hungry deer in the winter. We can think about that. Again, any organic matter you've got spare, any leaves, mulch, put them around the base. Right now, I'll talk about fertilizing in a minute. The other thing is let's go over here, with the apple trees, apples and pear trees, now is the right time to prune. So any of the water shoots that have come up, that are sticking up, grow up, they can all come down now, and any bigger pruning, no more than a third of the tree of course. But now's the time for pear and apple. Stone fruits should be done in the summer, not in the winter. Generally now is the time, with exception of what I've just said, it's the time for any sort of pruning of trees or cutting of trees as the trees go dormant for winter. Now's a great time to get them down. They'll be drier if you're going to use them for firewood. We've just taken a few down here just for safety reasons. They were rotten. Don't know if you can see the dark rings inside. This one, it's split. They're both in risk of going against the house, so they need to be taken down with some urgency, really. Well, that one anyway. And yeah, so we've done that. But now's the time to do it. Whilst the thing that, you know, the water's gone down and they're not bringing the water up, so they're drier. Now, in terms of main garden beds, outdoor garden beds, as opposed to greenhouse beds, so it's always good practice to give as much protection and cover to the soil as possible. This is obviously a big garden to get completely covered, so some places will leave as much of the, that's parsley there. You know, we'll try to leave covered where the natural leaves have fallen down. We'll try to leave it covered. Obviously there's wood chips in the pathways. We've just pulled the carrot harvest up. All the little ones have been left there. Examples over here where we've done a cover crop of peas. I will probably mulch that. You know, I might whiz those down or just leave them as they are. Actually, this is a really good example where as you may or may know, legumes produce nodules, which then which are rich in bacteria that can produce nitrogen. The nodules themselves aren't nitrogen, that's a bit of a myth, but it's only useful before they go to flower and pod, and so these peas were planted right at the very end of the season just for that purpose. They've not gone to flower or podded, and now they'll die down and the nitrogen will go back into the soil, so that's a good example of that. Ideally, it would be good if we could get some compost to cover these beds here, which we have kind of got some spare compost over there, and last year's, which needs to be dug out. Quick note on the compost, actually. Sorry about the jump there. So that's this year's compost pile, you know, work its way down. Last year's, what we'll do is take the fronts off here. We'll get this out. It might not be 100% ready, but that's fine for putting it on a bed on winter, and then we'll get that on some of the beds, and then we can move. One job is to move that compost pile into this bay, so that can start working down for next year, and bring this pile back alive again, sort of thing, by mixing it up. But yeah, there's, you know, there's good. I don't know, it's probably about how much there is there, but there's quite a lot to put on the beds, cover some of the beds, and then that can finish composting kind of in the spring and over winter, and that will be fine. No problem with that stuff for planting into next year. Like we've done here, it's gone a little bit weedy, but that's all compost there, compost there. Failing that, you could do straw and leaves as well, hay, whatever you've got around, or kind of plastic. That's one extra bed that was being built, so we had a plastic sheet left, and that's put down there. Fertilizer. The best solution, the best thing to do now is always going to be compost, but if you wanted to give some fertilizer over winter, you don't want a NPK. We want just the P and the K, the phosphorus and the potassium, because plants don't need nitrogen over winter. They need that for the generation of leaves next year. That's the first point. So first point, they don't need it. What they do need is to survive is growth for their roots to live over winter. So they need the potassium, the P and the K to survive over winter. The other thing is with the nitrogen will just simply get washed away. So it won't do any harm putting it down, but it will just get washed away because nitrogen is a very soluble compound, and it gets washed away. That's why we have problems with nitrogen leaking off farmers' fields into rivers and all that kind of stuff. It leaches away, so it's a waste of money and time really putting nitrogen down during the winter. Now the only way you could put nitrogen down, which would be really good, is if you've got some manure, and obviously the natural nitrogen present in compost as well. that's the only reason why you put it down. So that's a good thing. That will, not that the plants need it, but at least it's there and it's kind of working away as the compost and the manure works, and all the microorganisms in the soil work together and have a party. That's the good thing. This bed has been left. They're not dug over, they're just tilled, which is, you know, maybe the top few centimeters. Just going along, just to take the tops of the weeds off, let them die down and become food in the soil. That one's not been done because we had popcorn and sweet corn there, and again, as I've always said, I'll leave the roots in for them to rot down, so that's why I can't run the tiller over there. Same with the sunflowers over there as well. Still some hemp there that the birds eat, but that will go as well. So, you know, we can cover with plastic as well if you want to. This is a proper silage tarp, but that will reveal our new garden next year. So I hope that was clear on the fertilizer and the compost kind of thing, what sort of things you need to be doing to prepare the garden now for next year. But basically cover it with whatever you've got. And yeah, and if you want to put kind of autumnal fertilizer down, then just the P&K types, put that down. Oh, they often sell it as autumnal fertilizer, so yeah, that's about it really. And the rest is just collecting your produce and getting it in the freezer really. We've still got stuff out here. We've still got some spinach, cold crops obviously, some onion tops, radish over there, daikon radish, parsley and celery, a few mangolds. I always remember the word. It's chard, and obviously leeks and stuff, some brassicas. That's about it really. Yeah, so I hope you found that useful. It's kind of a quick, there's a list of things there to get done. I'll list them out as I edit them. But yeah, and then it's kind of take yourself inside really and start planning for next year. So that's it for me. Hope you found it useful. If you did, do give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing as we release more videos over the winter. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye for now.